There's like three things that you need to do in order for me to continue watching you as a content creator. Those three things are: don't say the N word as a white person, don't say the F word as a straight person, and don't touch kids. Why the is it so hard for content creators to stay inside of this box? This is like the least restrictive box you will ever be placed in your entire life. Don't be racist. Don't be homophobic. Don't be a pedophile. Why is that so hard? D'Angelo Wallace just made a video today talking about all of the allegations involving Cody and Tana Mojo. And we're gonna watch through some parts of this, but after having watched this video, I think I've come to the conclusion that the allegations are almost 100% true. Or there's an almost 100% chance that these allegations are true. But let's just hop into D'Angelo's video for right now.
Alright, Cody, let's have an uncomfortable conversation. Someone has been alleging for years now that you, one of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime against her when she was a minor. But YouTubers and viewers alike are ignoring and discrediting these allegations solely because the person making them happens to be an unlikable woman online, Tana Mojo. And it keeps almost hitting the mainstream, but the reason it hasn't caught on yet despite all of this is that none of your friends, nobody on your level, nobody in the commentary niche with enough pull is willing to admit that this situation makes you look terrible.
A lot of people like him a lot, and they really are like doing any kind of mental gymnastic to just ignore it.
I'm not here to accuse you of committing a crime in this video because I can't do that based on someone else's allegations. Nobody can definitively take these allegations as proof.
I want to just pause for a second to say that's something that got brought up a lot a couple of days ago with the Dr. Disrespect situation. Oh, well, he wasn't arrested. There were no charges pressed. Well, first of all, if you get stopped before doing something illegal, if you're about to commit a crime and you get caught before you commit the crime, you're not going to be charged for the crime because you didn't do it. But we're all aware that you were about to do it, right? Like that argument falls through really quickly because it's the necessitation of a crime in order for something to be morally wrong is a fallacy. There's simply too many situations that just boil down to hearsay, in which there's not enough evidence on either side for a legal case to even be made. And I think that's likely what we're seeing here. I don't think there's really any legal recourse for either Tana or for Cody. And I think arguing that on either side is just kind of definitively wrong. There's not going to be anything provable about this situation unless if some new information comes out, a new video comes out that we didn't know existed, right? And so unless if that happens, I don't see a world where this case doesn't just get thrown out of court. Either way, if Cody sues her for defamation or if she tries to press charges against him for statutory rape, I think either way that just falls through. I don't think that it's possible for this to go to court, but that doesn't mean that it A, didn't happen, and that also doesn't mean that B, we should ignore it.
Who's the smallest you've ever had sex with?
Oh my God, did no one look at me? Cody Coe. I can say that. I was literally 17. I can say that.
This clip started making the rounds and people were understandably perturbed because if Tana Mojo was 17, you would have been 25. So people started speculating and Tana decided to set the record straight.
I hooked up with Cody Coe when I was 17 and he was 25. There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up.
To be clear,
Now, we're going to wait for a second and I'll get into it a little bit more in a couple minutes when he shows the clip from Gabby. But that claim right there, that Gabby Hanna told him not to, is the linchpin in either side of this argument.
Teen is under the age of consent in many states, including Florida, where Playlist Live used to take place, so this means that Tana Mojo is accusing you of statutory rape. Nothing would make this situation better, but plenty of things make it worse, like the fact that she was a fan of yours at the time, adding an additional layer to the power dynamic you would have had over her.
I grew up loving him, and I think you know what I mean? Like, I was just like excited and a fan.
I was 17 at the time, 18. I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen, shout out Cody Co.
I actually want to address that real quick, because in that clip she says I was 17, 18. First of all, I don't think that's a valid argument to say, oh, well, she probably wasn't 17 then, we're just skewing the numbers. Second of all, even if she was 18, there's still a very clear issue with that 7-year age gap. That 7-year age gap for a fan and a content creator, which, again, escalates the levels considerably.
But what lends the most credibility to Tana's claims, and what is really the most damning thing for you, Cody, is a clip that you might not have even seen yet. The clip I'm about to show you is extremely hard to find. The original has been lost to time, and it's a wonder we have this on video at all. But if there was anything to give me any more clarity about these allegations before I formed my opinion, I was going to find it. Well, did you know that Gabby is actually on record telling the exact same story several years ago?
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned that.
This is really...
So like I said, this is sort of the linchpin of the whole situation, because that clip right there makes it very, very easy for Cody to prove that this is all a lie, if it is in fact a lie. Because all Cody has to do is shoot a quick DM to Gabby Hanna and be like, hey, can you tell people that this clip is, you're not talking about me, you're talking about a different guy? And if she does that, if she makes just takes 10 seconds to make a tweet that says, oh, guys, I'm not talking about Cody in this, I have no idea what Tana's talking about, that would completely and entirely destroy Tana's entire argument. Why hasn't that happened? I mean, not only why hasn't that happened, that's a real easy thing for Cody to do, but there is no way that Gabby Hanna is unaware of this situation. If that's not who Gabby was talking about, she would have come out and told us by now. Right? In order for that not to be the case, you have to make the assumption that Gabby Hanna hates Cody Co so deeply that she is letting Tana Mojo weaponize this clip of her and this thing that she said against Cody. And I find that that's a crazy thing. That's a crazy accusation to make based on literally nothing. There's no evidence to suggest that, and so I think any mental gymnastics you have to do to assume that is happening is insane.
But when somebody makes an allegation and they say they have a witness, and that witness can be found telling the exact same story years before any of this came out, that's not something I can just ignore.
Well, and the fact that Gabby Hanna had said this years before that any of this had come out is like really the thing that makes that the definitive point. If this is all a lie, if Cody never did this, all he has to do to dispel the entirety of the whole allegation is DM Gabby and say, hey, can you clarify this? That literally would take less than 10 minutes out of both of your days to end allegations of statutory rape. I can only think of one reason that hasn't happened. And it's because if you reached out to her and asked her to do that, she'd say no. And I can only really think of one reason that she would say no.
In a situation that cannot be proven, corroboration by a third party goes a long way, and frankly, Cody, the allegations against you seem to have been corroborated. But instead of researching to find these answers like I did, many of your fans seem far more interested in attacking your accuser.
I have seen so many comments, but what was she wearing? It's Tana, so who cares? Well, it's Tana Mojo.
The reaction to this has been unsurprising but incredibly disappointing, demanding proof that they know she can't provide, acting like she's only doing this to gain gain clout or root
See, but that's the thing about
in you
stupid
somehow, despite
fucking
the fact that
comments
she's never
like
once
this.
put your thing.
Where's the proof until there is any? This is as valid as flat Earth theory. It's like this is the same kind of thing. It's like with the Dr. Disrespect situation, where people were like, "Well, he probably didn't know that the girl was a minor, and he just didn't tell us that." It's like, no. If he didn't know that, if he didn't know that this person he was talking to was a minor, that would have been in the tweet. I promise you, that would have been the first sentence of the tweet. It wasn't. There's a reason it wasn't, and it's because it can be proven to be false. It's the same thing here. When you're accused of something and you just shut up about it, that looks really, really bad. Especially as a YouTuber, especially when the person accusing you is Tana Mojo. Let's think about this for a second. Cody's income comes from YouTube, right? He makes YouTube videos, and he makes money from people watching the YouTube videos. Do you know what video a lot of people would watch? One where he talks about this situation. This situation would probably make him a lot of money if he just made a 10-minute video talking about it. He'd get a free dunk on Tana Mojo. Now he'd get a free dunk on D'Angelo Wallace. That's huge publicity, and it's publicity in a really good way. It's publicity in a way that will garner you a lot of sympathy and make you an entire paycheck. Why haven't you done that? It is literally your job to make YouTube videos talking about stuff. This is the easiest content that you could possibly have. You get to dunk on a woman that most people hate, and you get to dunk on a commentator who's known for being really f***ing accurate. You get to say, "Hey, D'Angelo Wallace, you're a f***ing idiot. Sit down and apologize." I really don't think that's going to happen, and I really think that in and of itself is telling. There's no perspective that you can look at this from in which that is not the correct thing to do. Like I said, it would take 5 minutes to text Gabby and be like, "Hey, can you just say that this isn't true so I can record it and put it in my video?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, of course, I'm so sorry that this clip of me is being weaponized against you to accuse you of rape." Why hasn't that happened? It is your job to do that. You get paid to do that, and you're just choosing not to? The only reason that I can see that Cody hasn't talked about this situation is because if he does, Gabby would come out and speak out against him. I can't think of any other reason where silence is the best response. I can't think of any other possibility where silence isn't the worst response. It is pretty well known that when you get accused of something publicly, you need to address it publicly. Otherwise, it's basically just an admission of guilt. You've been a content creator for a long time. You know that. Why are you being quiet? Why are you being quiet for any reason other than guilt?
No amount of retroactive age calculations or what-if scenarios change the fact that what Tana described would be, objectively speaking, a crime. A crime which you've said absolutely nothing about. And even if this wasn't illegal, you remember being 25. You would have known then, as I currently know at age 25, that nobody this age should need an explanation for why a 17-year-old is off.
That's actually, I forgot about that. Let's say, going back to that clip where Tana said I was 17, 18, let's assume for a second that she was 18. Why hasn't Cody mentioned that? That argument immediately falls apart. The issue with this situation is not the legality, and I think a majority of people understand that. The issue with this situation is the same issue with a boss hooking up with his secretary, right? We all understand that shouldn't happen, right? Like we're very well aware that the problem of a power dynamic exist in places outside of an age gap. I mean, there is an age gap, but even if you make the assumption that she was 18 and nothing illegal happened, that doesn't change the fact that it is somebody who is still in their developmental period having sex with somebody who is not in their developmental period. Like there's no arguments against this that work. Even if you want to say that no grooming happens, that still doesn't matter. Like obviously grooming is a big part of the issue with being a PDF file, but the other issue with it is the fact that as an adult you are able to understand that this relationship between you and this child is temporary. It might last a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe it'll even last a year or two. But there's no, you have the life experience and the knowledge to know that it's not going to end with marriage. The child does not, because you're still at a point in your life where you are experiencing dramatic shifts in who you are and what you want to be. The legality of this does not matter. She could have been 18 and this would still be as much of a problem. The problem is a celebrity, micro celebrity, whatever you want to call a YouTube creator, a content creator having sex with a younger fan is problematic, period. Just period. There's no argument. That's just the truth.
Off limits, because you remember being 17 too. Now, thankfully, Tana's personal experience with this isn't one of trauma. In fact, I've seen people defending you by saying, Tana said she doesn't care, so why should any of us care? But that's not exactly what she was saying.
Well, again, it doesn't matter. Even if that is what she was saying, it's very well documented that people will block things out in order to prevent themselves from being traumatized. You can experience trauma in your childhood, and by the time you're an adult, you have no active memory of that trauma. That doesn't change the fact that your brain chemistry was altered by that trauma. You might not be consciously aware of the fact that the trauma is affecting you, but it still is. Trauma can be something, our brains aren't particularly good at handling trauma, and a very common defense mechanism is to just push the feelings down and block them out. You might not remember the feelings, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. That doesn't mean the effect on your brain didn't happen.
I know things manifest in ways other than me directly feeling them. Like maybe I don't feel traumatized in certain aspects from certain things, and other things I do, but maybe they just manifest in ways other than directly feeling.
The answer to why any of us should care
and
is
also,
that a person
like she said, she doesn't consider it to be trauma because she's experienced so many worse things. And when you've reached a point where your life has, at least feels like, it's become traumatic event after traumatic event after traumatic event, everything just kind of blurs together, and a lot of the times it becomes hard to pin down what exactly is causing you the trauma that you're experiencing. You might know that you're experiencing trauma, like you might know that you are reacting differently to this situation than you did at a different point in your life, but you're not able to look back and say, oh, it's because of this, simply because of how many things that it could have been.
Silence on the situation to be uncomfortable, because I know that if Tana's allegations are true, then silence would be your only option, since telling the truth would be tantamount to confessing to a crime, and lying would put you at risk of being contradicted by a witness. But even if what Tana says is false, your silence is still grossly incompetent at best. Now, some seem to think that you're not obligated to speak up, and maybe that's what people around you are telling you as well. But from one creator to another, you absolutely have an obligation to, at the very least, call out the misogyny, the victim blaming, and all manner of cognitive dissonance that's coming from your audience.
I think in a world where he wasn't acknowledging this in any way, he might not be obligated to address it. But it takes a quick look at his Reddit or his comment section to see that he's actively censoring people, and so I don't think that's true. I think at that point you absolutely owe people an explanation for what's happening. I mean, you're taking active action against this discussion, right? And so I think at that point you are obligated to speak on it, at least in some capacity, address it in some way. I mean, at least make a fucking tweet that says, no, that's not true. Like, goddamn.
And to be clear, this is cowardice, because you demonstrate it whenever there's controversy afoot. Tana's further claims make it sound like you're terrified.
I said something about it online and it was starting to surface, and he texted me like, are we good? My wedding's coming up.
You do have a history of making bad choices when you're terrified of people finding things out, like your history of using slurs.
5 nigga, 6 nigga, 7 nigga, 8 nigga, 9 nigga.
There's more clips than that, but the reason most people are blissfully unaware of them is because you posted your vague apology not on Twitter, not on YouTube, but on Patreon,
on Patreon,
despite acknowledging in your apology
weird
that the clips were surfacing on Twitter. This is one of many examples acknowledging
some old Vines where I say some really insensitive things have been surfacing on Twitter. They were really ignorant videos, and I wish I never made them. Last thing I'd want is for someone to feel alienated because of something stupid I said. It was a mistake, and I'm sorry I let you down. Yeah, 288 likes. Like, what was the point in posting it? I mean, that was the point. It's virtue signaling, obviously, but
not many people know that you've already lost fans over an eerily similar topic. You used to frequently feature and promote your college friend Colby Leachman in your videos. Leachman's university put him on probation for the non-consensual videotaping of a sex act with another student, showing the video to other people, lying to the police about the video. The woman in the video also alleged that Leachman drugged her before the recording and that she hadn't actually consented to anything at all. And at some point, you did wise up, so he's no longer part of your content, but he still seems like he's very much a part of your friend group. From the continued hangout since then to inviting him to your wedding just last year, people are under the impression that you're best friends with someone who, at best, committed an illegal sex act and at worst is an alleged rapist. But now your cowardice has reached a new low. You've tried speaking and you've tried silence, and now you're choosing censorship. On your YouTube channel, where you've been pumping out content nearly every day now.
I actually really quick want to try this out. Yeah.
You know, people ask me all the time, they say, Cody.
And we'll just say, and we'll come back to that.
I couldn't find a single comment on your last video about this situation. But surely you must have realized the limits by now, since people have just transferred the conversation over to your wife's channel. The fact that her comment section is overrun due to your decision to stay silent about this should be all the proof you need that that decision was wrong. At this point, your silence and censorship are a response with disturbing implications.
Not only that, but it's even weirder that he's just leaving Kelsey to deal with it on her channel. Like bro, just put the same word filter on her comment section. What? Like it's I don't understand. Like I understand that his goal is to keep his core audience ignorant of the situation, but like why would you leave your wife to just deal with this? Like, what the fuck?
I witnessed the heavy-handed moderation of your subreddit in real time as I researched this video. I would refresh the page and posts would suddenly be unapproved by moderators after racking up hundreds of comments, removed because they could, quote, instigate drama, or more commonly, just locked and or removed with no reason given whatsoever. It's your friends and fellow YouTubers too. It's no coincidence that with the exception of the H3 podcast, I haven't seen a single channel over 1 million subscribers do so much as acknowledge that this
there's no way that Noelle and Kelsey are unaware of this. There's at least some implication of like Nut and Ludwig that they could probably know about this, and if we don't see a mogul male, that will also be concerning. Like this honestly is concerning, like very, very much so.
I mean, the same channels that were rightfully calling out people like Dr. Disrespect for texting a minor, which are the same channels that are now completely ignoring a scenario.
It's crazy how many more people wanted to talk about Sketch than people wanted to talk about Dr. Disrespect. And it's insane how many more people wanted to talk about Dr. Disrespect than want to talk about this. It's just sad, honestly.
The general public may not know about the situation, but I promise you, anyone who's online enough to run a YouTube channel does.
The amount of people in this industry who like want to protect him and are like talking to me in a way where it's like they, you know what I mean? Like, or even just friends like, but I love him.
The truth is, Cody, whether you're guilty or not, you are being enabled to ignore this and protected from having to respond as an act of misogyny towards Tana Mojo. We both know that on our side of commentary YouTube, any man can easily elevate himself by dunking on misogynists in his content and espousing a generally feminist viewpoint. But if that viewpoint turns to silence the moment a situation is no longer cut and dry, then that...
Well, but that's again what makes it all the more concerning. If Tana is lying, then what she is doing is incredibly harmful to every woman who has been sexually assaulted ever. It would, quite literally, the most feminist thing Cody could do, if it was a lie, would be to prove that she was lying. Again, the silence, it can only really mean one thing.
I said it in the beginning, I said it in the middle, and I'll end with this. One person's testimony does not give me the right to accuse you of doing anything illegal, but I can point out the facts. It's a fact that you and Tana were around each other during the year she specified, as seen in your uncomfortable collab videos, which are still online. It's a fact that Gabby Hanna has made claims that seem to corroborate Tana's allegations against you. And it's a fact that you are suppressing your audience's knowledge of these allegations by censoring your YouTube comment section.
And it's also a fact that if this was all a lie, it would be so easy to contact Gabby Hanna and have her tell everybody that she wasn't talking about him. I honestly, at the end of the day, I think that is the answer.
These things may not prove Tana's allegation, but you better believe that they contextualize them in a way that you need to address. If you have a side of the story that we're missing, then tell it. If I have my facts wrong, say something. Nobody should ever be denied the right to tell the truth, no matter what. I'm sure.
Plus, again, if this is all a lie, you now have a free dunk on Tana Mojo and on D'Angelo Wallace, and you will get an unimaginable amount of support and sympathy for it. There is zero reason whatsoever to stay silent on this outside of being guilty. That I think that's just the end of the discussion. I don't see any other reason that silence would ever be even an option. As a content creator, you understand that when you're accused of something publicly, you need to address it publicly. I could understand if you had addressed this once and then she kept bringing it up over the past years. That would make a lot more sense, to be trying to ignore it and trying to censor it and just quell the conversation because you'd already addressed it. The issue is you've never addressed it. I literally forgot to record this, but if
people ask me all the time, they say,
if we look here, 1 hour ago, I left this comment, but like I said, Opera caches things a lot, so if we open it in a different browser, we'll refresh the video again, give it like a 5th view, but if we scroll through these, we'll sort this by newest, and we'll look 41, 50, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. And we can see that my comment's not there. So he does, in fact, have a word filter set up that is blocking people from speaking about this topic. And just for anybody who is unfamiliar with uploading to YouTube, there is a blocked words list, so I'd imagine most variations of Tana Mojo are just simply blocked in his comment threads, or in the comments of his videos, which is why my comment is not there, while the rest of these are still here, because someone will manually need to go in, and not that one, manually need to go in and delete these if they are deleted, and I imagine that they will be within the next couple days. Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure you check out D'Angelo's video for the full scope of his research. He, as always, has the best take and the pretty much 100% correct take on this subject. So make sure you go check out his video. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Thank you for watching.